everybody! I still love Halloween so much, just as much as when I was a kid. I love getting dressed up, clearly. I love taking out my nieces and nephews and seeing how much they love their costumes. It's so much fun to do. Playing make-believe and dressing up has always been such a big part of my life. It's the one time of year that you get to be something totally different than what you would be in a normal day, even something evil. So it's so much fun. I can't wait. To begin making this creepy cauldron cake, I started by making 4 8-inch lime electric green cakes and some electric green Swiss meringue buttercream to fill in between the layers. I cut off the tops and the bottoms and cut each cake in half. I left the bowl on one of the cakes because I'll be shaping that part of the cake anyway to make it look more like a cauldron. Once I fill these cakes, I put them in the fridge to cool to harden up a little bit before we start shaping this cake into a cauldron. I'm going to be making this cake upside down so that the bottom of the cake is currently at the top. So I'm going to use my knife to round out the top to make it look more like a bowl. Having the cake cooled helps a lot when you're sculpting cakes. Then cut all the way down to the bottom, cutting a bit off the bottom layer so that it curves more like the top of a cauldron. Then once you're happy with the shape of the cauldron, give the cake a crumb coat, put it in the fridge for half an hour, and then ice it up. I used my offset spatula for this, but you can use a flexible bench scraper to get smoother edges as well. Put that cake back in the fridge to cool. Then we're going to cover this cake in black fondant while it's upside down. I used my mat to help me roll this out. This is called The Mat, and I got it from Sweetwise. I'm not sponsored for this, I just actually love it and use it all the time. I rolled out my black fondant and draped it over my cake and smoothed out the edges. Drape the mat over the cake and slowly pull back the mat from the fondant, letting it pull off by itself.
The only problem with Halloween this year is that I'm on a diet and I'm trying to cleanse out my system from all the massive amounts of cakes that I make and from the 7 weeks of traveling I just did. So no candy for me this year. I guess my nieces will actually get to keep the candy if they get their pieces instead of me.
Smooth out the fondant inch by inch down the cake, being careful not to create any ruffles on the fondant.
My house was pretty hot that day, so the fondant looks like it's slightly melting, but I turned on the AC and it was A-okay. Then we're going to take our final board, put it over the cake, which is actually the bottom of the cake. We're going to put our hand under the bottom board and we're going to flip that cake over as fast as possible. Make sure to hold tight and be super careful. This is always the scariest part for me about making cakes, but I believe in you, you can do it.
Now that our cake is upright, we can start making all the details. I started by creating the lip of the cauldron by creating a rod out of black fondant and sticking it to the top of the cake on the edges with a little bit of water. I made 2 handles at the side of the cauldron with black fondant, making 2 rods and attaching them together to make a circular handle. And then I put a strip in between the circle to attach to the cake with some water. I then stuck on the side handles with some water. Hold it there for a few minutes until it dries. I then decided that my cauldron wasn't quite black enough, like a witch's cauldron would look like. So I took some black gel paste, mixed it in with some lemon extract, and painted it all over the cake. It only looks shiny while it's wet. Once it dries, it'll look more like it's matte black. I then realized that my handles actually started cracking a little bit because I let them dry for too long before putting them on the cake. No worries, this happens all the time. You just have to improvise a little bit. You can cover this up in multiple ways. You can use some fondant mixed with water and fill in the gaps if you want. I just decided to cut out a little strip of fondant, put it on top, and made it look like there was little nails going through it as if it was holding up the handle in the first place. The great thing about cakes is that you can cover up things in so many different ways. Do whichever way you want. Just find you can even cover it up with some ooze if you want. Anything works. Then to make the top of this cake all slimy and gooey like a stew in a cauldron would be, I used some Jello vanilla pudding and mixed it with electric green food coloring. I would think that it would work out perfectly, but nope, I was wrong. Don't do it. It was a bad decision. The Jello started mixing in with the actual sides of the fondant, started making my green Jello pudding look like it was like mixing in with the black fondant, and it was like melting. My eyes started melting into the pudding. It just did not look very good. Plus, Jello actually has milk in it, so it starts to go bad a lot faster. Just a bad decision. Don't do it. If I was to make this cake again, I just used ganache, used some white chocolate melted with some heavy cream, and put in that green food coloring, and it would work out much nicer, and it will even look a little bit nicer. Now I know, my bad. I then put on my gelatin bubbles. I made these in a previous video for this cake. Click on the link in the description box below or in the eye in the corner to see how I made them. I wanted to make these look like the pot was actually boiling, so I only added a couple. I then added some creepy eyes and then a gummy snake running right through the pot. I then used some electric green ganache like I wish I had used for the top of the cake. I made a little bit from white chocolate and heavy cream and dripped it down the side of the cake to make it look like it was oozing out the side of the cake. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and you like this cake, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see my video on how I made gelatin bubbles, click here to watch it. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel right over here. Have a happy Halloween, everyone. Be safe and have fun. Bye!